Hey guys, today I'm going to be making a tutorial about how to get a vanilla macOS Mojave Hackintosh set up on your Ryzen system. So I was in the AMD OS X Discord the other day trying to gather some information about this process, and I was told about this new method, which is with the binary patch kernel, which essentially allows you to have working iMessage, FaceTime, and Siri. And previous methods, like with the pre-linked kernel, would not allow this to happen. However, this method only works on Ryzen systems right now. So that includes Ryzen CPUs, Threadripper, Athlon 200, 220, and 240 GE CPUs. So that means no FX support, at least for now. So after I gathered this information, I thought it would be a good idea to create a guide for how to get this working, because currently there are no guides for this method. All the old guides, which this guide is actually based off of, only use the pre-linked kernel. So yeah, my guide is based off of the AMD OS X Vanilla Mojave guide, as well as this guide on the AMD OS X forums by Shane, to create the USB installer on a Windows system. So yeah, credit to them. This process has become a lot simpler because you don't need to mess with any of the post install commands. So if you go into the vanilla guide, if you go into installing, then you'll see that there's all these commands they have to run after your install to get everything working. But with the new method, you don't have to do any of this. So yeah, my guide will be linked in the description, where you can download all the downloads that you need, as well as if you like, you can read along if you find that easier. So yeah, let's get started. So the first thing you'll want to do is obviously download all the prerequisites, and I would recommend making a folder on your desktop. For example, here I have Mojave, and this is where I've downloaded all the files. So the first thing you'll want to do is, and I'm going to be looking at my guide on the side as I do this. So you want to extract the install macOS Mojave zip file, because it's quite a big file, so it'll take a while. You can do that in the background while we do the rest. And then after that, you'll want to extract BDU. So we'll extract that with 7-zip. And you open this up, run as administrator. You'll see a screen like this. So the first thing you want to do is go into options, then configuration, and click on check now, which will look for the latest version of Clover. So here you can see I have R4895, and you should see over here as well, you have the latest Clover. So after you do that, you want to click on format disk, which will destroy all the data on your USB drive, by the way. So make sure you back anything important up off of the USB drive before continuing. So once you're ready, just press OK, and it's gonna format the drive, so this might take a while. So yeah, just let this run. It might take a bit, and then once it's all done, you'll see this message here. And then the next thing you do is go into tools and extract HFS, and here you'll see a window to select a file. So you'll want to go into the install macOS Mojave folder that we just extracted, and go into contents, shared support, and select the base system.dmg file. And it'll ask you to select the folder to save this the extracted file in. So we'll select Mojave here, and you just click OK. And oh, I already have this file, so I'll just replace it. And this might take a bit. And once that's done, you'll see the HFS volume extracted message. So after that, you click over here and you click on the plus icon, select partition 2, and then click restore partition. And go back into your Mojave folder, which I have over here, yeah. And select the 4.hfs file that we just extracted, and then click on yes over here. So while that's running, I recommend you install the Paragon program, Paragon Hard Disk Manager. And once you open it up, it'll ask you to set up an account, which I know it sucks, but it's just something you'll have to do. So yeah, just do that, and then once you're ready, we can proceed. And then once this is done, we can just close out of it. So yeah, it looks like that finished successfully. So the next thing you'll want to do is open up Paragon Hard Disk Manager, and you'll be on a screen like this. So you'll want to select the partition manager, and then select the well, it might be different for you, but just select the second partition and click on resize partition. And you'll want the new volume size to be, well, basically just to fill the entire drive. So we'll select 26.84 and press OK. And then you'll want to press apply pending changes. And yeah, just let that run. And once it's done, it says all tasks are completed successfully. So we can close out of this now. And you can just ignore this message. Don't do anything here. And then you'll want to install transmac, so tmsetup.exe, and then run it as administrator. So go into Windows and then right click transmac and run as administrator. And then you'll have to wait for 10 seconds, I think. And then you can just press on run. So once we're in here, the first thing you'll want to do is go into tools, then settings, go into disk drives and select access non-removable drives, read write, and then press OK. After you do that, you want to click on your USB drive, go into OS X base system, install macOS Mojave, and contents. Right click on any blank space, so over here, and you can click copy here, and now go into your Mojave folder. Mojave, yeah, and go into your install macOS Mojave, go into contents, and select the shared support folder, and then you'll want to click on copy. So now this will actually take maybe 10-15 minutes because it's copying 5.6 gigs to your USB drive. So yeah, just wait for that. The last thing you need to do is fairly simple. All you need to do is extract the Clover zip file. And you want to go into your, the USB drive, the Clover partition, go into EFI and Clover, and we want to copy the contents of the folder we just extracted into here. And what it will prompt you to replace, we click replace. And we're done there. And then after that, let's go back to our Mojave folder. So the next thing you want to do is go into the prerequisites section and look for the config.plist link, which will take you to this GitHub page. And we want to click on config.plist.zip here and click on download, which will, well, I already have it downloaded here, but you can just press download. And we just want to extract this, so extract here. And we get this config.plist file. Now going back into the same USB folder, so Clover, EFI Clover, we just want to copy it over and replace the existing config.plist file. So now that that's done, we have prepared the installer USB, and we can now proceed to boot into it and continue with the actual install. So the first thing we need to do is boot into the BIOS and change a few of the settings, and then we can get started. So let's start our PC and boot into the BIOS. So now that we're in the BIOS, you can find a list of the settings that we need to change on my website in the before installing BIOS section. So I'm going to show you how you can enable a few of them, or where you can find them, at least how they look on my motherboard. So if we go to OC, and this is the advanced mode of my BIOS menu, by the way. So we go to CPU features, and here we want to disable SVN mode, keep cool and quiet enabled, disable IOMMU, and that's all we need to do from this section. And then we can move back. So from here we want to go into settings and advanced and integrated peripherals, and then go to SATA mode, and we want to set that to AHCI mode. We also want to go into USB configuration and make sure that XHCI handoff is enabled, as well as legacy USB support. Now, like I've said, some of these options may vary for you in how they're named and what actually might apply to you based on what system you have. But again, it's going to vary for you depending on your system and what your BIOS looks like. So again, you can find the full list on my website, and just make sure that you follow that list as much as you can. Alright, so now that we've done that and we've saved our settings, we can now proceed to boot into the USB installer. So a quick note for multi-monitor users. The installer is actually going to glitch out if you try to use multiple installers, and it's just not going to work. So at least during the install, I recommend removing your second monitor and stick to one monitor for now. And we are obviously going to fix this later once we get the install working. So let's boot up and boot into the USB drive. So for me, that's if I press F11, that shows me my boot devices. It might be different for you. So here you want to select the USB drive that you created. Well, it's going to be named different for you, but mine is Kingston Data Traveler. So just press enter there. And you're going to see something like this. Well, mine has lots of entries because of my various Windows installs, and I also have macOS already installed on one of my drives. But the first thing we need to do is go into Options and add a boot arg by pressing enter on boot args and type -v. And the reason we're doing this is to enable verbose mode, which basically just enables some logging to the screen so that you can, if there's some sort of crash or error that happens, you see what's going on, and then you can troubleshoot it from there. So navigate with the arrow keys and just go back to return once you've added the flag, and then we can proceed to boot macOS install from OS X based system, and just press enter there, and it's going to start booting into the installer. Alright, so as you can see, we've booted into the installer now, and the first thing we want to do is to go into Disk Utility. So once we go into Disk Utility, you're going to see a list of your drives listed on the side here, and you want to select the drive that you want to install macOS to. And what we're going to do now is click on Erase, and this is going to delete all the data on your drive, by the way, so make sure again that you've backed everything up off of this drive, because it's going to be completely wiped. So you can name it whatever you want. I'm just going to name it macOS, and then for the format you want to select macOS extended journaled, and if you have an SSD you might want to select APFS. I'm not sure if this was worked for other people. I haven't tried it out. You can if you want. So I'm going to select macOS extended journaled, and make sure that the scheme is set to GUID partition map. And once you've done that, press on erase, and it's going to start formatting the drive. If this fails, just try erasing again. It should work the second time, but it looks like this time it's gone through perfectly fine. So we're just going to click done, and we're done from this menu. So we can close out of it. And then we want to go into reinstall macOS. Alright, so now we want to press continue, agree here, and select the drive that you want to install macOS to, so the drive you just formatted, and just click on install, and it's going to start copying the system files onto the drive. So this might take a while, just let it continue. So once that process finishes, it's going to restart automatically, and we just want to boot back into our USB. So once again, if you like, you can add the verbose option. So I'm going to do it here. And we're going to return. And you want to boot into boot macOS install from macOS. Alright, so once the installer starts, you're going to see a screen like this. And this part is going to take a long time, probably about half an hour. I have a slow drive, so it takes about 40 minutes. But yeah, if you think it's getting stuck somewhere, and saying it gets stuck at calculating time remaining, that's completely normal. I had that a few times. It's just going to take about 10 minutes to get past that, and then it's gonna like jump basically. So yeah, just wait for this to finish, and it's going to reboot automatically again. So once that process finishes, it's going to reboot again, and you want to again boot into your USB installer. And we're going to add the verbose flag again. And then we're going to go into boot macOS from macOS. And just press enter. Alright, so now that we're booted into the installer, all we have to do is continue with the steps as normal. So I'm in the Netherlands, so I'm going to pick Netherlands here. And I'm going to pick the US layout keyboard. Yeah, and continue here. And don't transfer information. You want to skip the Apple ID setup for now, and you can do that later in settings, but for the initial setup, you should leave it not signed in. And set up your user however you want. And just continue here. Choose whatever theme you want. If you don't use the dark mode, I don't know what's wrong with you. Alright, and well, I guess you'll get this prompt for the first setup, and just follow the prompts that you have. And yep, it picked up that I have a US keyboard, so we're just gonna do it down here. So if you've made it this far, you've probably booted into macOS successfully, and yeah, we seem to have almost everything working. We just need to get Clover installed so that we can actually boot off of the hard drive without our USB. And there's a couple of tweaks that you might want to do, for example, for multi-monitor. So yeah, let's just get started. So you'll want to download Clover and Clover Configurator. And once we do that, we'll want to first open up Clover Configurator. Yeah, it's gonna prompt you to do the security thing. So yeah, we just have to go into security privacy and click on open anyway. Yep, there we go. And we want to go into mount EFI and look for the EFI partition on your hard drive. So you can see here, I have my hard drive that I installed macOS to, and we just want to do mount partition, enter the password, and now you should see the EFI partition show up over here. Yep, here it is. And okay, and now you want to open up the Clover installer. So yeah, let's press continue here. And continue. Change install location. Make sure it's selected, your hard drive is selected here. Continue. And we want to customize the installation. You can leave all of these selected as they are. So you want to select the Clover for UEFI booting only, as well as install Clover in the ESP. Make sure those two are selected. And then you can press install. And enter your password again. And there you go, you have Clover EFI installed now. And we can close out of that. And the next thing you want to do after that is, you'll see that now we have the Clover folder show up in the EFI partition as well. And we want to open up another window. So new Finder window. And open these up side by side. So you want to go into the Clover folder from your USB drive. And go into EFI, Clover, and copy this over. So we will do copy Clover and paste item here. And you basically want to replace the folder. So all the settings that we had from our original Clover install, which we know works because we've booted into it, will be transferred to our hard drive. So now if you reboot, you should be able to boot directly off of the hard drive, and everything should work just fine. The last thing you may want to do is to download the Voodoo TSC Sync KEX file, which, as the AMD OS X guide says, improves the sync for time, audio, and video. So just go ahead and download this, and we'll save it into our downloads folder. Let's open that up and extract it. And then you want to go into your EFI partition, into the EFI folder, Clover, kext other and just drag and drop it over here. I already copied it before, but just copy it over. And after that, it says to run this command, so we'll do that. And you see that we got the ID 11. So as it says, we want to right click the Voodoo TSA sync and click show package contents, navigate to contents and open the info.plist. Now I'm gonna open it with Sublime Text, but you can use whichever program you're comfortable with. Right, so as it says, we're going to look for the core, as it says here, and we want to change hashtag core with whatever number we got before. So as we had 11, I'm going to put 11 here, and just do Command S to save the file, and we can close out of that now. Now, if you're running a multi-monitor setup, as I promised, I'm going to show you a couple of tweaks that you can do, which may or may not get it working for you. This did work for me, however, so yes, let's get started. We want to go back into Clipper Configurator again, and go into Boot, and press Command O to open a file. And we'll go into our EFI partition that we just mounted, go into Clover, and select the config.plist. And now just go back into boot here and add a argument. So right click here and you can go into whatever green and select WEG off. And now we just need to press Ctrl S and it saves our configuration. The other thing you want to do is to go into graphics and select Radeon D init. And once you do that, just press Ctrl S. And now your configuration should be saved, so once you reboot, it should be working now. The other thing you need to do after enabling those two things, the flag and the Radeon DNet, is to go back into your BIOS and enable CSM support. For me, this was done by enabling the Windows 10 HQL support option. There was no separate option which enabled only CSM support, but it might vary based on your BIOS. So yeah, once you do that, save your BIOS settings, and double monitors, multiple monitor setup should be now working. So now we're pretty much done with everything. You should have working audio. It worked out of the box for me. But if it doesn't, you may want to look into the Apple ALC kex file. You can find more information about this on the AMD OS X Discord. But that's been it for me. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope it was helpful to you. And I hope you're able to get a working Hackintosh install going. Peace.